Import and export parts, users, and other entities. In GS, importing and exporting parts, users, and other entities allows you to use a CSV file to create or edit multiple items and then import or export them. This can be much faster and easier than creating or editing those items one at a time in GS. Things to know for importing and exporting with GS Cloud. This video assumes that you have already created whichever entities you want to import or export. Your CSV file, for each value, the same rules apply as when you create the entity in GS. For example, when creating a user, you must assign a role to that user. See the GS Online User Guide, Values for Exported, Updated, and New Entities for details. If there is a column named Add or Remove, you can add or remove multiple values for that item by adding more columns with this header to the file. You can remove any blank column from the file unless it is required for that entity. For example, when updating users, you can add more Add Group and Remove Group columns to the file and then specify one group in each column. The location of new columns does not matter. You can insert them or add them to the end. This is optional when importing new entities but can simplify editing the file. When you upload your CSV file, GS checks for errors in the file. If it finds errors in your file before the import begins, the Errors section displays which row had the error and what the problem is. When this happens, you can edit your import file to fix the error and then upload it again. If GS does not find errors in your file, select the Start button to begin importing the file. Final things to know for importing and exporting with GS Cloud. If all rows in your file are successfully imported, the status section displays 0 failed to import. And there is no errors section. Now you can select Close to return to the list of entities and review the new items you just imported. If GS finds an error during the import, the status section shows how many rows successfully imported and how many failed to import, and the Errors section displays which rows did not import and what the errors are. When this happens, you can select Download Rows with Failures to create a CSV file containing only the rows that failed, with an additional error column that shows the error for each row. Open the new CSV file. Edit each row to fix its error. Remove the error column. Save and close the file. Upload this new CSV file. Importing New Entities demo, download the Create template. For this example, we will be importing and exporting users. You can follow the same steps to import and export whichever entities you want. Since we are importing and exporting users, name, username, role, and email are required. You can retrieve the user information by clicking on the View icon located next to user's name. You can also retrieve users' information by clicking on the download arrow. The downloaded user information can be saved for later. Above the list of entities, select the Import button. For the type of import, select the Create Template button to download the CSV file. Next, fill out a new row for each entity, part, characteristic, process, user, etc. that you want to create. When finished, save and close the file. You are now ready to import the CSV file. In GS, return to the import window for the entity you are importing. To import the CSV file, you can drop and drag the file or use the Upload CSV button. For this example, I will use the Upload CSV button. When you upload the file, GS checks for errors in the file. If GS does not find errors in your file, you can select the Start button to begin importing the file. Updating entities from an export file. To make changes in the export file, open the CSV file, edit any values you want to change, except for the ID which cannot be changed or removed. Delete any columns and rows that you don't want to update. For some entities, the export file contains columns that cannot be imported. Review values for exported, updated, and new entities in the GS Cloud Online User Guide to see which columns must be removed before import. Make sure that any blank values left in the template are values that you want to be blank in GS. When finished, save and close the file. Now let's import the edited file. In GS, return to the list of entities and select the Import button. For this example, I changed the name Test to Charlie and the role data entry to Supervisor. If the file is uploaded without errors, you can click the Start button. Now that the edited file is imported, you can see the changes displayed on the list of entities. Updating entities with an update template. This method uses a blank template that you can fill in to update entities. Importing a file with blank fields will change those fields to blank in GS. To get started using an update template, you will need to know the ID of each entity you want to update. This value cannot be changed. For this example, I am viewing entity IDs for users and will be updating entity ID number 5. Entity IDs are displayed the same for groups and roles. To change which entities are listed, use Search. You can also click the checkbox to display disabled entities. Now that you have the ID, select the Import button. Next, select the Update Template button to download the CSV file. The CSV file is now downloaded. From here you can create a folder and enter a file name for this new file. Open the CSV file and fill in the template. Fill out a new row for each entity, ID, name, role, etc. that you want to update. For this example, I am updating entity number 5, name, role, and email. Remove all columns except for ID and the columns you want to update. Make sure that any blank values left in the template are values that you want to be blank in GS. When finished, save and close the file. In GS, return to the Import window for the entity you are importing. Drag or upload the file. Next, select the Start button to begin importing the file.